for them some of the help to identify some of the areas where they could find solutions to the issues they were trying to address that were not related to the IDA. And the IDA has agreed to meet with them going forward to address whether or not some of the issues they're concerned about can be addressed by the IDA. They wanted the developer to agree. They wanted the IDA to impose on the developer an $18 an hour minimum wage. They wanted homeless, whenever there was a vacancy, they wanted the developer to accept homeless vouchers. They wanted initially 10% of his gross revenue for a housing trust fund. And again, I think it was a first attempt of a group that's trying to be community and civic minded in a way that many of the things that they're looking for should be, in my view, done at the planning board so that every developer is addressing the same goals, and the city council would have to make those decisions, not the IDA. But if you only go to the IDA, you're missing 3/4 of the development that's going on in the community. So I do think that they want to close by year end this project because, and so what that means for CEDC is because of the work that we've done on it, the work that Lisa has done and I've done, and Ed when he was here and others, we will be getting a 10% of the IDA fee, and the IDA fee is 1% of the project costs. So we'll, you know, I know we were worried, not worried, but we were wondering if the budgeted number for administrative service fees for 2022 was, you know, how we were going to make that, and the first 25,000 will come in against that $70,000 in January. So if you go back and look, we have, as administrator of the City of Hudson IDA, worked through and have had approved $70,000, sorry, $70 million of projects in 2021. That's an incredible amount of work, coordinating with the developer, the council for the agency, and the agency members. So, you know, I do think that, you know, I want to thank Lisa and in particular, and the rest of the staff who have helped us with this. And when you look at, these are private sector investments, and address both tourism as well as housing and affordable housing. In our capacity as the director of or administrative services provider for the county IDA, we did receive a application 10 days ago or so for a 160 unit apartment house in the town of Greenport. Again, affordable housing for people who make $60,000 to $100,000 a year as their household income. The IDA did approve the scheduling of a public hearing, and we are moving forward with the town. Obviously, it didn't make sense to try to cram that in before year end, but we have discussed it with the supervisor. They're still going through the planning board, and you know, that's another. The county is very excited about this project because, as you know, it's hard to build a multifamily housing project in other areas of the county because of the lack of water and sewer except for 6 locations in the county where you have water, sewer, gas, electric, and broadband at the same place. We also were notified this week that the application that we assisted the Return Brewery, which is in the Smith Tire, will be in the Smith Tire building behind us, was approved by the Office of Community Renewal. It's for $375,000. And the city has asked, as the county has in the past, for CEDC to administer that grant. We do coordinate with Nancy Castine, who used to work here as our grant administrator, but is now with LaBerge Engineering. We do subcontract with them to do some of the work, and then Lisa and I, you know, Lisa spends a lot of time on the reporting side of it. But again, it's we can get a 15% fee for administering that contract. So again, again, trying to get the revenue model down to where, we're not as, where the percentage, I'm not trying to reduce the county's contribution, but where the percentage of the county's contribution is, closer to 50%. We will have, we're getting out the membership renewal letters this week, and we will have the prospect letters out first week of January. We are also very excited that we were able to, there were $6.3 million of regional council awards that were announced a week or so ago. Ankrum Opera House, $255,000. City of Hudson Smart Growth Plan, $67.5. Columbia Historical Society for their Lucas Van Allen House Moisture Mitigation Project, $75,000. Hudson Athens Lighthouse, $500,000. Philmont Beautification for a redevelopment reuse study, $20,000. The South Front Street Holding, which is where Kitty's is, the red barn building across from the train station, $601,000 for a carbon neutral project. They had taken down the red barn that was actually adjacent to the building where the store and restaurant will be, and it's being rebuilt and restored in a warehouse right now, and they're going to put it back screw by screw, board by board when it's finished. Olana received 3 big grants, 2 through the regional council, totaling $3.2 million for their new visitor center. And Assembly Member Barrett was able to get a member item through the State Assembly for $1 million. So, and that was announced. Martha attended that ribbon cutting, or I'm sorry, announcement. I guess the ribbon cutting's yet to come. But again, when you look at the importance of Olana as kind of, and the other arts and cultural organizations throughout the county, we're very excited to see this type of investment. The Galvin Foundation received $1.5 million in connection with the project here at the community forum. I guess it was a tennis facility most recently, and before that, I guess it was a theater, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Antique warehouse.
Antique warehouse too. We have had some discussion with some of the other Hudson-based and countywide performance venues as to what will this do in terms of competition. I think that the nature of what is proposed and anticipate will be completed here at this community forum. They're gonna have to have promoters. I mean, this is going to be a project where you're going to have to people who are on tour, national tour in small markets, and I know they've had some discussion with professional operators. I don't think Galvin intends to operate it themselves. And finally, Hudson Hall received $129,000 for their jazz festival and tourism marketing. So when you looked at the rest of the region, we did pretty well. Greene County got a little less than 5 million, or around 5 million. Warren and Washington were about the same. Again, with the exception of the Red Barn project, they were primarily not-for-profit organizations that received the grants. We also, NYSCA, the New York State Council of the Arts, gave out 14 awards in Columbia County. 10 received the maximum award available, $49,500, and that included Ankrum Opera. I see Ruth is here. Ruth was Art Omai was awarded $49,500. Basilica, Columbia County Historical Society, Columbia County Youth Theater, FASNY, a group I hadn't heard of before, 4 Nations, and Hudson Hall received $49,000 plus 2 $10,000 grants for marketing. Operation Unite, PS21, Shaker Museum, Steventown Academy, the Malay Colony for the Arts, and a group called Flowchart. One is a chamber music group, and the other is a poetry group. I had to go on, had to Google them to find them. But it's great that we can add a couple of more arts organizations to our contact list. And I was also pleased that I had a call from the new director of the McCaden Theater. We had been calling them from time to time or reaching out by email, and even the info at McCaden Theater was getting kicked back to me. So we're finally, we're glad that, and you know, they do have a fairly significant budget when you look at pre-COVID. Other projects, we did have the IDA intends to finish the financing of the Clock Distillery. The final approvals were concluded last month at the IDA meeting. The City of Hudson IDA has 3 more hotel projects coming forward. The Galvin for-profit entity has proposed a 40-room hotel at 4th and Warren in a building that gentleman by the name of Richard Cohen had originally purchased, and they proposed a hotel, but he didn't proceed. There's a company, Plus Development, out of, well, their main office is in Los Angeles. They have a New York City office and a Dubai office, and their website is pretty comprehensive. They want to buy, they have if they get the zoning board variance that they have publicly applied for, they are planning to buy the old Elks Club on Union Street across from the 620 Union Hotel and put in a 40-room hotel. And we did meet with another group that's looking at 2 sites in town. I think you're going to start to see some community friction as to how many hotels Hudson needs. But again, the surge of private sector investment that's going to be continues to come forward is only equaled by the surge in the single-family residential real estate that we've seen, where you know, there's like 360 homes available on the market, where 2 years ago there were 700 or 800. And the price has gone from a 240,000 median sale price to 370. Again, that's the county has asked CEDC to get take more of a lead in housing, similar to what we had done in broadband. And I have been working with Chairman Morrell and Supervisor Knott and others in connection with moving forward in that direction. Finally, we have been notified that the CAS will be sold to by the end of the year. Crystal Hines, who represents the Hudson Development Corporation, has sent me a release of lien to be filed upon repayment of the $200,000 that CEDC had loaned to Hudson Development Corporation to enable them to be able to get control of the site and have access to Front Street. And I would ask for a motion and a second, Mr. Chairman, and a vote to authorize me to sign the release of lien once the payment of that loan has been paid.
Jim Calvin, so moved.
Finally, been saving the best for last, but we also have a couple of quick things. Unemployment, we're at 3.3. We had been at in the high 2s before the pandemic. Just for a reference point, we were at 3.1 on December of 2019 going into the pandemic. In terms of job data, or I'm sorry, employment data, November saw a 1.5% increase from over last year, 19.7 19,700 people were employed in the county in November of last year, and we're up to 20,000. The job force, as opposed to the workforce, is the total workforce is closer to 30,000, and that's people who are eligible to work, but you might be a 55-year-old who retired from the state with no intent to work, but they count you till you're 65. And I guess we've had another great year with the loan program. Martha had just updated a report through the end of the year that in 2021, we received $181,000 in grants from the SBA to provide technical services to 80 different businesses. That's the highest number of technical assistances that clients that we've had in the last 5 years. We previously did 63, 75, 69 twice, and then now 80. So over 5 years, 356 businesses that received technical assistance. More importantly, we closed 16 SBA loans and 8 CEDC loans, 24 loans for a total of $535,000. Over the last 5 years, we've closed 109 loans for $2.586 million. And I think when you get away from all the fluff and the cheerleading and the concierge services that we provide, when you look at the hard numbers of businesses that have been helped and businesses who have received funding from CEDC to enable them to grow and expand on top of all of the grants and other activities that we do, it's certainly a credit to the entire team. And I want Martha to share with us the even better news or greater news than the success of 2021.
Found out that we have been approved for another $400,000 loan from the SBA. And, we should be on that loan next month, and that compares to $300,000 last year.
And I think, the interesting thing is that right now we have $1,596,000 on the street. We have $1,330,000 to lend, which means we have a $2.9 million loan portfolio. And when we receive these funds, which we need to have a vote to approve, again, signing the note with the SBA, we'll have a $3.3 million loan portfolio. And Martha, congratulations. Lauren, Kat, Lisa, thank you for all of the help and support that you provide for both the technical assistance program and the loan program.
Run through those numbers again.
We have $1,596,000 in outstanding loans, and we have $1,330,000 available to lend. 2.896, and when I added the 400,000, I got 3.296. So I rounded it to 3.3.
I want to just interject here, Mike. I'm always so impressed at the work you do. And this list, at the end of this year, a COVID year, and all you've done this year, I'm just so impressed, and I thank you.
Well, it's a team effort, and when you
No, it's you.
no, well, but it's also a team
I
effort
know. it's-
because the day-to-day work is what keeps us afloat. I mean, the things that I do, I get drowned in doing these IDA things. I mean, it's just and if you didn't have the balance of the team to be able to pay the bills, bring in new clients, go make loans, connect with technical assistance providers, and keep us out of ABO radar with minutes and meeting notices and the incredible depth of administrative tasks and keep the books and records going, we wouldn't be able to survive. But I do appreciate it, and I know the staff appreciates it as well.
Do you want to go on to your treasurer's report?
Yep. Treasurer's report between steamed glasses and failing eyesight. Let's see. I am concerned a little bit about cash in the sense that, and we'll bring this up at the Finance Committee meeting in January. Again, because we have taken the interest on the loans for the last 7 years and left it in the loan fund, but we have interest in our balance in our P&L as cash flow, and we run that break even or in a couple of 1 year below break even. We've basically been using the proceeds of the sale of the Commerce Park property that we received when the DJN project didn't go forward to supplement cash flow. And I think that we've had this discussion, but I think, we're now at a point where if we pay back or begin to pay back the EIDL $100,000 loan, we'll be under $500,000 in cash. And I will bring that to the Finance Committee in more detail, but just wanted to kind of begin the thought process and discussion as to what percentage of the loan fund do we take to administer for the purpose of having it. And now that we're at $3.2 million, we can go back and look, but my guess is that we've put 300 to 350 back in the loan fund over the last 5 years from interest, which we were using also to balance our budget, but because the cash went into the loan fund, we were using reserve cash to allow that to happen. Now, I think that was a good thing to do. And I think that, but we do have to look going forward at what level. I think we want to keep at least 1 year of county funding available in our reserve. But looking at the balance sheet, and you can see we're down $183,000 in operating cash. And we do have receivables, accounts receivable. We're $193,000 up on accounts receivable, and so I do want to get into looking closer at cash at the next Finance Committee meeting, and then report to the full board in January. But we are at 3.894 million, which is up 3.9% from November of last year. And so, we continue to grow the balance sheet. I think the loan portfolio, which is a big component of it, is strong. Martha and Lauren will report on that. And at the same time, we're growing the balance sheet while we're spending down our cash. So it's not a bad thing, but I do think we want to make sure that if something happened going forward, I did on the P&L. Look at the last page of the P&L. It shows that we have $48,000 of positive net income. We had projected a negative 67 at this point, but the negative 67 did not include budgeting anything for PPP2 because we didn't know if we were getting PPP2, and we got 64.3. So the P&L is overstated for 2021 because we had to book the $68,000 that we received for PPP in 2020 and 2021. So when we just received the final notification of forgiveness of the PPP 2021. So in December, we're going to have, well, we will be booking another 64,000. So, again, I think the finance committee, I want to break it down and take out that noise. Where would we have been without either PPP 2020 being booked in 2021, and where would we have been without PPP? Now, the interesting thing is we were down $91,000 from the county in both years, and we picked up 64 back in 2021 from PPP. So, part of the deficit that will be shown will demonstrate that PPP really allowed us to recoup 75 to 80% of what the county had reduced us when they reduced all departments by 20%. But again, in 2022, the county has restored the full 460,000, and they have agreed to give us an additional 30 in connection with ongoing broadband work. And but when you look at this, these numbers don't really tell the true story because they're skewed by the PPP funding.
Page 1 of the P and L. Have you included this? Is to quote grant income.
Well, the interesting thing there is I always ask that, but the grant income, we have a legacy relationship with Angelo that was always booked as a grant, but it's really functions as a loan. And so when you see grant income up at the top, where it has the 267 ED 76011 and 267-42402, that's $7,000 of grant income is really not what you and I would consider a grant. That's a loan. That's all of Angelo. The other thing is, I think you got in this report, you got the full P&L instead of the condensed version that you normally see, where that would be it would have been combined. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah. The good news is he's paying us down, and maybe he'll be off the books soon enough. But I always felt it was a loan, but because it had been community development block grant money, that both Erin, who had originally booked it, and the accountants tell me they have to leave it this way. But I've had that question from the beginning. Well, I think when you see, again, I didn't catch the fact that we printed the detailed version for you, which normally just goes to the committee of the P&L, so that why don't we print out the consolidated version and see if that addresses your concern. But it is confusing because to me a grant is from a grantor, not this money I guess came as a grant to make the loan, and that's how they were booking it. One last thing, I could. It was Well, and I guess I don't have it, but I will find it before the meeting's over. But again, the sales tax was just over the top, up another January to November 2019 to January to November this year. It's up like $6 million, and with 40 to 46 million range. Now, we're also now at a point where we found a source where we can start to break it out, because the three top categories, of course, are online sales, gasoline, and food shopping. But I think it will start to tell a picture of where the economy has strengthened. And when you look at statewide, wasn't able to get numbers across the board, but 19% of the job growth in the state has been in hospitality. So that's where people are coming back to work, and hopefully this new variant won't make that an issue going forward. Thank you.
This is on the portfolio, the rental portfolio, and there's a reference to reserve accounts. And there are two places where it said SBA loan funds. So that two separate reserves attributable to SBA loans. In other words, why are those not consolidated?
One is accrual on the books. The top one, the 232,715 is the a loan. We should actually call that loan allowance. That's what the accountants have on the books for bad debt, and the rest is cash. And again, this is something I've had issues with them on, because if you write off a loan, you have to write down the balance of your allowance on the balance sheet, even if I have cash in the bank to cover it. And but again, I'll ask Matt Vanderbeck. So if you go to our balance sheet, you'll see that we have $232,000 as an allowance for bad debt. But on top of that, we have to maintain these cash reserve accounts for the SBA.
That's cash.
Yeah.
Loans.
So, and then the other thing that we've looked at is we're anticipating that once we have that we would add $50,000 to the debt reserve for the loan allowance on the books, because with getting the additional PPP, we're going to report a profit. And next year, we're not going to report a profit because we're going to have the $200,000 write-off of the Flanders loan, which is a grant that was, if they pay back to the Fed, if they are in business after 5 years, it becomes forgiven. And so, whether we report as a not-for-profit breaking even with $20,000 versus $70,000, I would rather continue to make sure we have adequate reserves so that if you do have a loan loss, you're in a situation where you're not going to have a big hit that year. You can remember early on when we first took the first year I was here, we had to take a $400,000 hit because of a hotel project out in Greenport. And I just think that as we add another $400,000 in debt, that before we close the books, I would recommend that we add $50,000. It will still result in us showing that we had net positive income, but as a not-for-profit, whether you have 60,000 or 20,000 really doesn't matter, especially if you're using the money to build your reserve account. So that's for a motion to book an additional $50,000 in loan loss reserve.
Want to do that now?
Want to do that now or January?
No, if we do it, I was going to wait, but I don't know when the accountants want us to close the books, and if, I don't want to get the IRS or somebody to say, well, you waited too long.
We need a motion to add $50,000 to our loan reserve.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's carried. And then we also need to approve your report.
Need to reprove, any further questions on the finance report? If not, is there,
Motion to approve. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
and a motion to approve me to sign the release of liens upon payment, repayment by.
We did that.
We did that, okay, great. All right,
Thank you, Mark.
thank you.
Yeah, all right. Committee reports. Board and finance did not meet. Executive did, all the minutes here. I don't know. I don't remember.
Wait.
It was.
And that was the nominating.
All right.
We had a joint meeting with the governance and nominating committee for the purposes of, well, it was a staggered meeting.
The governance and nominating did meet, and I'll turn it over to Sarah, who's chair of that committee. Sarah?
The purpose was to interview Joseph Benson for a board position. And it was unanimous that we forward this I don't know what you can call it, application for his name to us as the full board to vote on it at this meeting. I believe you've all received his resume. I think he would be an excellent addition to our board. Very involved with agriculture. Shadowbrook Farm is their family business, and he's just a very interesting individual. I think he'll bring a good compliment to the board. So,
Thanks, Sergeant. You need to approve him?
Yeah.
So you need a motion?
motion,
I'll make the motion.
okay,
I'll second it.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Everybody out there? All right, motion passes. Welcome, Joe, to the board. I think he's listening, but so he will appear in January. I would just,
Yeah, Lisa, do you reach out to him? How do we do that? Yeah, I will. I'm sure. Happy to. Great, thanks, Sarah.
you want to discuss the conflict of interest?
Sure.
Now?
Yeah.
One of the things that's brought up that there's, I don't know where we are in the loan committee, because there may be there's another member of his family that is applying for a loan. And it's a good time to discuss our conflict of interest policies and our anti-nepotism policies. Because this is just as a refresher that we understand that there could be a potential conflict of interest, and we make sure that we have everything in writing. We just want to make sure that everything is disclosed ahead of time, so that we would not want to be accused of favoritism in any manner.
And Andy Howard at our last at the loan committee meeting did indicate that there are going to be conflicts from time to time, and that's why there's a conflict of interest policy, and the appropriate steps are for a member of the board who has a conflict to make the board aware of that and to leave the room for any discussion or consideration. Not just to recuse yourself, because, while if you have a conflict and you're still in the room, it may inhibit someone from saying something about what they know or how they feel about the issue before them, as it relates to you as an individual fellow board person. So in this case, Sarah, I think it's great to have this discussion because there are two things in place. One, he was elected. There's a business that's an entity that has applied for a loan that's owned by Michael Benson Jr. And his brother Joe was just elected to our board. Although he was elected today, his term doesn't start till January 1. And at the same time, had he been a member of the board as of today, this board could still consider the loan that's going to be presented shortly, but Joseph Benson would have had to have left the room and would have not been able to participate in any of the conversation. Again, I think that the other aspect of this is that the loan is under the amount that would require board approval. Is that correct, Martha? It's under $25,000, so it's only requires committee approval, but because of the potential of a conflict or perhaps even the appearance of a conflict, we wanted to bring it to the full board for visibility, even though your vote is not required under the bylaws.
I think you will also hear people recusing themselves occasionally. Particularly the loan committee, we have a problem with this sometimes because we have bankers on that committee and they might have already given a loan to somebody applying for a loan. So they will recuse themselves, which can be a problem with the loan committee.
Well, in fact, they actually have to leave the room or get off the call if they have a conflict. And I think that in a small community, this is going to happen. But the state has put in procedures, and with good counsel from Andy and our understanding and sensitivity and transparency towards conflicts and other ethical issues, evidenced by our ethics officer, Sarah, bringing this up today, I think we just need to continue to be vigilant about ensuring that we follow all of the appropriate policies and procedures.
Hey, Mike, this is Brian Sickles here. Just want to make a interjection here. I mean, knowing that we're going to be making a larger focus on this and my frequent recusals based on commercial relationships, I'm wondering, would it make the most sense for me, based on the number of recusals that I've had, to choose another committee rather than loan committee to be a better functioning member of the board?
Maybe.
I think that some.
But Brian, when you are able to contribute, your
your
contributions
input's
are
valuable.
valuable. So that it's thank you.
Okay, I just,
Consider it, but
I appreciate that confidence, everybody. I just, knowing that there's been such frequency in it, I just want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with that structure. So once again, just a thought.
Well, you could be on more than one committee.
Certainly.
This is Andy Howard. I just wanted to briefly say, I think it's a great topic that Sarah brought up. And it's good to hear Brian. I mean, we've been very diligent in addressing it. I mean, to be clear, in this particular instance, there's not a conflict. Sarah's completely correct, however, to bring it up to everyone's attention, particularly as we enter the new year. And it's always good to be vigilant on these matters. And both the loan committee, where primarily these things come up, and here at the full board, I think we've done a very good job over the last 5 years of being cognizant of it. It's just something we need to continue to be diligent about.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, very much. Loan committee portfolio report.
Okay, portfolio we have a couple of report, 1/7/11, Spring Time Express, we've had discussions about that this year. Around car sales, they're current on one of the. Many of you know, sales tax was due yesterday, and that does pretty impact the situation.
And I think if you look at, you have $2,500 basically on $1,596,000. You have 0.0015 delinquency rate, and most banks wouldn't include anyone in the 30-day category. And particularly in light of the fact that these are small businesses who are still dealing with the issues related to COVID, and also there are businesses that in many instances wouldn't have initially qualified for bank financing as startups. And I think it's a real credit to the underwriting that Martha and Lauren do, and the coaching and nurturing, I guess, perhaps isn't the best visual or word, but the connectivity that the staff here has with our loan clients, and the resource that they are in terms of answering quick questions, whether it's Lisa or Kat or Martha or Lauren. People have said that when things are tough in business, you pay the people who are good to you, and it seems to prove out when you look at our delinquencies.
Amazing. There's so few people on the leaders. It's just a real credit to us. There's 3 people.
Okay, that's it. Right? We need a motion to approve the portfolio report.
There's a motion.
A second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Long? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And that would be a resolution to authorize the EPC to accept the $100,000 from the SBA.
okay. I guess you said it all. Motion. Second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried.
We'll take as much free government money as we can. Up to 10 million.
So, Tivoli mushrooms, for the $75,000. Tivoli mushrooms is current space here in Houston. Martha and Sarah Sterling and I went and visited the current space, and we can attest that they are outgrowing that space, and it is a magnificent thing to behold. He has poured himself into this business, and because he's outgrown that space, Devin Gilroy, who's the owner, has purchased land in Hillsdale, and he is going to erect a 15,000 square foot climate controlled warehouse. Right now, most of his sales are on the wholesale side, grocery stores, restaurants. And you can see, he acknowledges there are some considerations, on he's actively working to address that. And it's sort of a chicken and egg thing, because that new space is key to addressing that. In the new space, we'll be able to have increased output, his farmers market business, CEDC, will expand his retail side of the business. We'll also be able to get organic certification, which means we can frankly charge more for certain products and open up sales channels that way. He's going to be adding tinctures, dried medicinals. So growth is the big headline here, and projections certainly are ambitious. We like that. They are ambitious, and Martha and I kind of interrogated that quite a bit, and we know that he does half of what he hopes to do. He will still be able to do that. Devin Gilroy is incredibly savvy. He's impressed us. And he's surrounded himself with a really strong team of
I can't hear you.
Oh,
Come
can
on.
you hear me now?
He has surrounded himself with a very strong team, highly capable folks. He also has a group of equity investors. He's raised $400,000 in capital, as you can see from his business plan. And this is sort of his moment to take this business to the next level. It's an agricultural story, if you will, that we want to be part of. We feel confident in sort of his personal finances. He's been very conservative, and we'd like to make the loan to him. It's a $75,000 loan. We would do $60,000 from CEDC loan fund and $15,000 from the SBA, and that's because much of his funds will be used for this construction project space, and SBA does not want to use any money for construction.
He won't own the new site.
He does own it. He purchased the land. He will purchase the land. He owns, I believe, 65% of that land. Purchased it for $125,000 from Sequoia LLC.
Is that collateral for anything? 25,000 secured down the way?
We potentially could have a first lien on the building. He also has extensive equipment. He has pasteurizers and steamers, some really big, robust pieces of equipment that we know from our consultant, Charlene Chai. There is a very competitive market.
But the land purchase is outside the scope of our financing. That means he has used personal capital and maybe others have joined.
Yes, he has a co-purchaser. He owns the majority of it. There was a co-purchaser.
An identified co-purchaser.
Yes.
Any more discussion?
And, excuse me, the loan committee did have a question about whether this was a district, and yes, it is an.
Or can you, I mean, the pages are not numbered, but there's something called financials and projections. Can you run through that? There's debt, there's equity, but is the debt, is that in place? In other words, there are several
Yes,
sources.
6 investors.
Okay,
Well, you're going to see 2 loans. You're going to see one $100,000 loan from Petrulis and one from Helen Marvin.
right.
And then he has also raised the money from 6.
Okay, but can we just stick with the debt? All right. I mean, actually, technically, it shows 400,000, but it should probably show less because we're proposing 75,000.
This was an earlier version of his plan. He'll make up the balance.
But this money is in place. These are firm commitments for debt participation.
Yes.
Okay.
And he is applying, just to be clear, he is applying for $100,000 from HVADC.
Gotcha. Now, on the equity side, you said it says $400,000. What's the status of that? One place in the presentation is verbally committed. I'm not sure, but another place it says there's no way to put value on the equity participation. I don't know what that quite means. Has he identified $400,000 of additional money so that
He has, and we have that membership ledger. We have his operating agreement, which we're going to have Andy review. We've reviewed it, but we're going to have Andy review it as well. And I think to your other question, I think he's just trying to be very transparent about the fact that they can't make promises about that to those investors in terms of where the company will go. They're optimistic and they have some high goals for themselves.
That's an investor consideration.
That's right.
Maybe not ours, right?
That's right.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry I can't be with you there in person. Happy holidays to everybody. I found this presentation to be very, very thorough. And I also found it to be refreshingly candid in that the applicant acknowledges that the assumptions that they are making may or may not be accurate, may or may not come to pass. And they openly acknowledge that they only have a 3-year track record to base their projections on, and that any lenders need to be aware of that going in. I find that refreshing. I appreciate it very much. Sometimes applicants, excuse me, tend to put, happy face stickers on their submittals. I'm pleased to see that this one is telling it to us straight. And I'll be very pleased to vote in favor of this application.
Any more discussion? Need a motion?
Is that a motion?
Yeah, we have a
Yeah,
motion.
motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you all. There's two more you want to discuss?
Yeah, we can certainly discuss them.
They're not up for approval.
They're on the agenda.
They were there for information because the committee approved them, but they're not required board approval.
You want me to run through them?
Just quickly.
Okay, so New York Ski Shop is an LLC owned by Michael Benson. This is his first full year in business. He does primarily automobile restoration and engineering, and he's actually branching out into other areas.
Want to come closer to the mic?
Also doing other work in the mechanical engineering field. He just graduated from Virginia Tech with a degree in mechanical engineering. He has requested $23,500 from CEDC, primarily to purchase equipment. He's moving into a new space. He already has work lined up on with some existing clients. And as I say, the money will be used to purchase equipment, which will serve as collateral for the loan. This is a 72-month term. The loan committee asked for clarification on that. The amount is $23,500. The interest rate is 5%, and we will have a personal guarantee of the principal as well. The loan committee also had two other questions about the use, the allowed use. And based on statements from the landlord, whom we know, Andrew McDonald, and the businesses that have been in there for the past 10 years, we're comfortable that this is an allowed use. They had questions about his insurance. We consulted with an independent insurance agent who informed us he felt he should have what's called a garage keeper's policy. And we're around for that policy now. And again, we wouldn't close on a loan until we've had a chance to review the policy. Thank you.
And we also have Velo Dumbass.
Yeah, and that was also approved by the loan committee, and that's a $15,000 loan for a high-end bike shop that's been in business for 5 years. They're currently located in Malaysia, and they're borrowing the money basically to purchase additional inventory. It's gotten more difficult to find parts. They have to be purchased at a higher quantity. He does a fair amount of business doing bike repairs in addition to selling bikes. And in fact, we are closing.
Thanks, Martha. Moving right along, workforce and education. Nothing, right? And the last item is Mary Ellen with the strategic plan, I believe.
Right. When we met last, she agreed to try to finish up the interviews with those members of the board who hadn't had a chance to speak with her. If you have had a call from her recently, please follow up, and we will get a date for a 1.5 to 2 hour meeting in late January.
Very good.
And one last thing, Mr. Chairman, I did find the numbers. Sales tax, January to November 2019, 40,200,000. 2020, 39.6, so it's down marginally. January to November 2021, 49.3, which is up 25% from last year, which was flat from 19. So it's just incredible.
Yeah, that's way up. Anyone from the public on? Hearing no one, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Mary, thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you very much. We appreciate your support and encouragement.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just gonna go.
Holidays.